BLOCKv is my favorite Web3 project. Not only favorite project in Web3, but all of technology. What the team is, what the technology does, everything about it. And so we're going to be covering it a lot on this channel. And so this video today is going to serve as an introduction into BLOCKv for those of you who don't know about the bullishness that is going on. Let's go. This story begins 8 years ago in 2015 with two main characters, Reeve Collins and Eric Pugliese. Both of these men are absolute juggernauts in the tech world. Reeve Collins invented Tether. Yeah, that's right. 2 years prior to 2015, he invented Tether, the first ever stablecoin and the most traded digital asset of all time. Long before that, his career started with a company named Avenue A, which was the first ever online marketing agency, which later sold its technology to Microsoft for $6.6 billion, the largest ever acquisition in history at the time.
What the hell?
He later invented the pop-up ad.
I think when you look back, you will probably be able to sort of pinpoint that Reeve is one of the most important futurists.
I truly believe he's a visionary, whatever what he's doing.
Trying to understand how we can bring everything into the new digital age. And Reeve, he was involved from the beginning, right? He helped create the space.
Eric Pugliese is a Harvard graduate and one of the only people to have founded 6 companies valued at over $100 billion. He is also on the board of X Prize, along notable names like Elon Musk.
The fundamental drive of humanity is to connect. From cave walls to the telephone, television, computers, Tim Berners-Lee bringing us the World Wide Web, and Mark Andreessen creating the first browser. The way we've connected has evolved to span great distances at incredible speeds. Philip Rosedale gave us a glimpse of the future metaverse with Second Life. In 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto proposed and built the first blockchain, a new way to bring trust to parties wanting to connect and exchange value. 8 years later, in early 2015, the first NFT, the Vatom, was invented by Vatoms CEO Eric Pugliese as a new way to transmit value, connect, and engage like never before. Powered by the token VEE, Vatoms take off where Bitcoin started, leveraging the blockchain to drive interactivity and engagement through fully programmable actions and artificial intelligence. Vatoms extend reality, moving seamlessly from the real world to the virtual world and back again. Imagine receiving a digital object from a favorite brand. You gift it to a friend, or take it out to the real world and exchange it for a physical object. With Vatoms and the Vatoms Spatial Web, brands connect directly to audiences and fans, gather first-party data, and create direct, long-term indelible relationships. In today's Cannes Lions event, you are a part of the largest web-based social gathering the world has ever known. With just a simple URL, thousands of people from multiple countries are running into old friends, networking, finding and trading NFTs, and learning about a movement sweeping the globe. Welcome to Vatoms Spatial Web, a new NFT metaverse that you can customize to be anything you imagine. It's a new canvas for imagination and the future of human engagement.
So, in 2015, these two men, Reeve Collins and Eric Pugliese, came together and invented the NFT. They created something called BLOCKv, which is the world's first ever NFT platform, which is still in use today. And it's used by the world's largest companies.
So BLOCKv was a company, and I did an ICO in 2017, and we created the first ever NFT platform.
Oh, wow.
This was before there was a term for NFTs. So first we invented the stable coin and then the NFT. And the reason why I laid that claim is because there was an image posted to a blockchain in 2014 called Quantum. But in 2015, we started this company to create highly programmable tokens. And because after Tether and realizing how difficult the regulatory landscape was for financial products, the concept was, let's do collectibles. Let's do digital objects. Let's make physical goods real in the digital world. And therefore, we created a platform so we could make these highly programmable tokens, which was really the foundation of what NFTs are today. And that company has morphed into Smart Media Technologies, SMT. So we did this ICO, and the other currency was called VEE. VEE powers that platform. It powers the protocol. And now there's companies built on top of BLOCKv, SMT being one of them. And now that company, the goal is to power Web3. It's an enterprise solution. It creates wallets, NFTs, metaverse environments for large global organizations. And all of those digital objects, you have to utilize our utility token VEE to create those. And now the end user doesn't know that. That's all done behind the scenes, but that's what powers the platform, is this token called VEE.
Here on the BLOCKv website, we can see that BLOCKv, the world's first ever smart NFT platform, has been used worldwide by Unilever, PepsiCo, Doritos, Samsung, Jameson, Miller Lite, Swisscom, the NBA, Verizon, Ben & Jerry's, KFC, Vodafone, Intel, American Express, Axe, Yahoo, and more.
It's been insane where everybody, their mother and their grandmother, has started talking about trading NFTs in the last, it hasn't been 6 months. It's been like the last 3 months. And whenever you see that, it's like, huh? What? Where'd this come from? And what does it mean? So can we just, like, for the first, let's dive into the history and origin of non-fungible tokens, because both of you were there, in my mind, at the very inception.
Yeah, sure. I'm gonna give a lot of credit in this story to Craig. I'm so proud and honored to be on the virtual stage here with him. He truly is a luminary in this space, many spaces actually. But my history with this intersects with his back in the beginning, when the innovation of blockchain was first gaining speed in a lot of sectors. There was a bit of a frenzy among the largest companies in the world, thinking that they would adopt it, and how would they do it, and would it be disruptive, and what would it undermine and change? And there was a lot of confusion around the space. And I was deeply in there, really more in the enterprise space. And every token was really fungible. One Bitcoin looks like the next. No one's ever seen a Bitcoin. It doesn't really react if you do something to it. It is an entry in a ledger. And so I was really looking at this a little bit differently, because the complexity was mind-boggling, and I was deeply in it and saw that it was going to take a long time to unfold in some of the more, say, large ways. And so I really just said, well, what if we put all that aside and made a beer? We don't have to take down the global economy. What if I could make a beer on blockchain and give it to you, and I don't have it anymore? What if you could give it to the bartender and get a real one? And what if it would change state and actually get warm if you left it out and had the virtual refrigerator? And then you start to go from there, and you're like, oh my gosh, if I could do that, then it could be a ticket. If it could be a ticket, it can be a HIPAA-compliant prescription bottle. It can be a land title. And so we start to get into my background, which was policy and state changes and IoT. And you suddenly, the light bulb goes off and says, my gosh, this is the evolution of human engagement. And so I went to Craig, and Craig, you might remember this story. And I said, Craig, you may be inventing one of the second most important inventions in the world, which is he actually put Tether out there, which is, I don't know, trading it. I can't even begin to describe the volume of what he's created and co-created. But I took it about seconds before Craig's eyes lit up and said, you know what, we got to do this. Craig, maybe
what year is this? Eric?
It was
early
right after
2015.
Tether launched, to early 2015, I believe.
Yeah,
So-
we were actually having, like I said, Tether launched in January of 2015 after we built the prototype. We were having lunch with Eric, with Reeve Collins, the CEO then of Tether. And what was interesting was that as Eric was describing this idea of the beer, his conception was basically, I want to be able to take an image of a beer on my phone and swipe it up to the bartender and actually redeem this digital object. Because we were talking about the ability to redeem digital dollars, but they were all fungible. And he was also talking about bottles of water. Could you tokenize other things that are physical? And what's funny is that for me, the idea of a digital object or having like an image representing the thing wasn't the innovation. It obviously was, because that's what's happening right now with all of the NFT craze. What was amazing to me is when Eric said, well, what if you don't redeem it in a couple of days? Can the beer get warm? And I looked at Reeve and I said, Reeve, I quit. Because
Hallelujah, brother.
we have the ability to change the state of a token and make it unique. That is the most important invention we've ever seen. Because now that means everything that's in the real world that is finite and is non-fungible now can be represented on decentralized, peer-to-peer, permissionless blockchain. And
So
that
guys,
was the conception right there.
I just, this NFTs were not invented 6 months ago or 6 weeks ago. It was 6 years ago by these two individuals. And so Eric Poulier and Craig Sellers, I mean, it was amazing. I remember learning about it from you, Eric, and I was like, same thing. It's like, boom. It's like, this is huge. This is the permeable membrane between the virtual world and the real world, and going back and forth elegantly, simply.
As this introduction to BLOCKv comes to a close, I'm going to leave you with a short video demonstrating some of the utility that Smart NFTs bring. The gambling phenomenon that we saw in 2021 with simple JPEG NFTs is very far from what BLOCKv is doing. And don't forget to subscribe and follow along as I document the world-changing technology that BLOCKv is unleashing. Cheers.
The last 48 hours has been an absolute whirlwind of activity. I haven't seen this much excitement at the dawn of a new technology since the World Wide Web first came in.
Yesterday we had the launch of the first digital autonomous life forms in PricewaterhouseCoopers offices in Uptown. That was amazing.
Now it's time to get rid of the game and gamify the world. So we've made hundreds of digital butterflies and we're releasing them into the universe.
We had butterflies flying all over Manhattan, carrying gifts from Intel.
We have been absolutely flooded with interest. I've never seen such excitement.
So we're here at NRF, launching for the first time this digital treasure hunt.
It's a massive show. There's so much here.
Participants are sent out into the conference floor. They then get these digital objects, they come back to our booth, and they redeem them for actual tangible prizes.
This represents the evolution of advertising from just messages to actual digital objects. Now brands can provide consumers a way to really engage with their brand assets through digital objects.
NRF is truly a watershed moment for BLOCKv. We are seeing absolute incredible excitement. People coming from all walks of life in the retail community and saying, this is not just an efficiency. This is something that's going to fundamentally transform how retail is done. What we're doing here today is historic.
So this digital billboard is going to show 6 individual objects. These are not pictures of objects. These are actual autonomous, unique objects on a blockchain. These objects move from one place to another and are unique in that they can only be in one place. When I take one off of there, it no longer exists in that billboard. Now I have it. It's legally transferred ownership to me. I don't have it in my inventory. Doesn't matter how I acquired it. It's independent of how it's acquired. Anywhere I can see my inventory, I can see my stuff. One of my things now is this Vatom. I've now redeemed it, and rather than it just becoming a normal coupon, which I get my Coke for, it's come back as an empty Vatom, as an empty Coke, which is giving me an opportunity to have a living, breathing conduit relationship back to the brand. So now it's incenting me to send it on. As I send it on, you see that it actually fills up. So it's giving me more and more value the more I share. What's interesting is who I sent it to was this person who's not in the system at all. That's an email that they got that says so-and-so gave you a Coke. So they click on that without being in the system at all. That Coke is now transferred to their inventory, which shows that you don't need an app to participate in the Vatomic ecosystem. You just need an identity. He took that Coke, it had it in his identity, he now sent it back to the person who sent it to him, and you see how these objects flow seamlessly without friction between users. Another example that we want to show is that this Coke, now that it's being filled up, fills up more and more the more you send it, to the point where when it fills fully up again, it might realize into a new type of offer, further incenting you in that behavior. So you can see that these objects have their own incentive behaviors, they have their own identities, they're independent, they can only be in one place at one time, and they're redeemable. Other thing that we can do with them is we can actually drop them on the map. So I can take it out of my inventory, and rather than give it to another person, I could put it in the location where I am. So that Vatom has now disappeared from my inventory, and if I go to the map, you'll see that it actually didn't disappear, it's on the map. Anybody who comes along can now pick that up and take it with the associated rules and policies. You know, if it's an Arthur sword, you're only going to get it if you're Arthur. This is an example of how you can acquire Vatoms in other ways. Typically, these banner ads nobody clicks on. You click on it, it's going to take you on some mystical road and no value. An identity federation system with the Vatomic platform allows you to offer Vatoms where instantly touching on them gives you the add-on. So instead of taking time on something that people clearly don't want to do with ad blockers, etc., showing the way, you just take something. And it might be something of valuable to you, something you want to share, something that is valuable to something else. But taking an object with no time is a very different proposition. There's an object of a key. It showed me on its map that there's a crate nearby. I go into the map. I'm acquiring that crate into my inventory. It's now left the map. I've had it. But you see the crate is actually useless on its own. I can't open it. But luckily, I have the key. This shows the power of combinability. I now have the key. I can put it on the crate. I can open the crate. This crate is now enabled to explode with things tailor-made for me. This crate can now open, and inside it has objects that I can now take into my inventory. It makes a gamification process of getting gifts and giveaways and coupons and digital works of art and other things that you might find in these crates. So now those things showed up in my inventory. As an example, there's a stamp from Peter Diamandis. Interestingly, we want to show how these objects not only exist in your phone, but they're really autonomous and listening to the world. This stamp, for instance, could turn into a pizza if a certain offer comes around. In this case, it's listening to Twitter. So we tweeted something, it heard that on Twitter, grew a mustache. You can imagine a baseball card turning into a taco if someone hits a home run, or if the Lakers get over 100 points. You know, there's an action that these are individually addressable Vatoms can change state and assume different types of value postures. So in this case, we're tweeting again, turning off the mustache, and it's listening to Twitter, it heard it, the mustache disappears. So this idea of having an event bus where these objects not only are unique, independent, and authenticatable, but they're listening to everything, the weather, the sports scores, the stock market, and they change accordingly. They also can change based on what other Vatoms you have in your possession, or any number of things you can imagine. Here's an example of a number of different types of Vatoms that if you don't want them or if you want to trade them for something better, you throw it on the exchange. Here's a coffee I put on the exchange. Here's another user who sees that I'm going to offer them a hamburger for that. And you see that the exchange then can set up various types of barter transactions. The hamburgers come in, I could reject it, I could have 10 offers for my coffee and choose the right one. In this case, I accepted it and the exchange occurs. The coffee went where it needs to and I got the burger, which now enters my inventory on the top.